Chapter 57. Who was Logan Rhys exactly? The hurricane that had stirred up the city of Stonia. The demon that had disturbed the peace of the people. He was also the one behind the tragedy in Osnald 10 years ago. No one had ever expected that a 15-year-old could cause so much destruction. Thus, it was no wonder Travis was horrified to see him. Who would have guessed that the man who was standing in front of them was the stuff of legends who had disappeared from the face of the planet 10 years ago? The Logan Rhys. The adjutant's legs instantly gave out, causing him to crumple to the ground with a thud. His mind was drawing a complete blank at the moment. After Dustin gave Travis, who was behind him, a glance, he started walking toward Edward. "Help me, Uncle Travis. Uncle Travis." Cradling his broken leg, Edward kept screaming his head off as he wriggled on the floor like a maggot, trying his hardest to evade Dustin. "I told you, I'll make sure you won't even have a corpse left after I kill you," Dustin declared as he picked up a long whip covered in spikes from the ground, then delivered a swift blow to Edward's face mercilessly. "Ah!" Edward cried out in pain. The skin of his face was torn apart down the middle, and blood started spurting out of the wound. Dustin didn't hold back and delivered another swift blow to another part of his body. As a crunching sound rang out, Edward's skin and flesh, along with his clothes, got torn to shreds. "Gah!" He yelped miserably once more and resumed crying for help. "Hurry, Uncle Travis. Please save me." Even though he witnessed all this happening, Travis didn't move a muscle. It was as if he didn't hear a thing. All while Dustin showed no mercy, delivering blow after blow onto Edward's battered frame. Every blow caused blood and flesh to spurt out, and the man kept screeching in excruciating pain. Stop hitting me. I fucked up. I know I really fucked up this time." Edward begged for mercy profusely as he knelt on the ground. However, his cries fell on deaf ears, and Dustin continued to whip him, his eyes devoid of mercy. "This was for all the pain Dahlia endured up until now. I'll make sure you pay it back 10, no, 100-fold. Dustin exclaimed to himself. Good, good. You'd better whip his ass to death," Chris instigated from a corner of the room with a mischievous look. The saying went that the wicked always got what was coming to them. This was proven true by Edward, the amateur evil mastermind, who ended up abused and beaten up by mega supervillain Dustin Rhys. Just as Dustin was in the middle of exacting his revenge, a long procession of cars suddenly drove toward them and halted right in front of Spanner Villa. A large number of armed elites swarmed out of each car to seal off the entire premise. The armed elites, who were all clad in black suits and body armor, each carried with them a gun on their backs. All of them looked intimidating. Even if they were just standing there quietly, they still gave off a very menacing feeling. Plus, this was more than a step up compared to Travis' men last time. So, it was Rhys who sent them. Travis thought and immediately felt a pang of despair after looking at the army of elite forces. The last trace of hope he had in his heart vanished that very second. At that moment, the door to a Rolls-Royce suddenly opened, and Hunter Anderson got out of the car. "Mr. Anderson." The moment the badly battered and bruised Edward laid his eyes on Hunter, he felt as if his savior had arrived. He immediately perked up and started clawing his limp body toward Hunter, frantically begging him for help. "Help me, Mr. Anderson. This kid is trying to kill me. Quickly, arrest him for me. As long as you help me now, half of the Spanner's fortune will be yours." Edward offered without hesitation, fully intent on luring him into saving him with his obscene riches. After all, wasn't life more important than all the riches in the world? The whipping he'd endured had already scared him shitless. He knew very well that if the whipping didn't cease, he would get beaten to death sooner or later. "Is that you, Edward Spanner?" Hunter asked as he gazed upon the bloody figure before him. He had to examine him for a bit before recognizing him. "Yes, it's me. You must save me on behalf of Sir Hummer, Mr. Anderson," Edward pleaded as he lay on the ground, clutching Hunter's pant leg with a deadly grip. Fuck off. Hunter growled in response as he kicked him away and ignored his pleas. Instead of helping him, he quickly walked over to the other side of the car, bent over slightly, and opened the car door to reveal an old man clad in a dated suit. He got out of the car and started walking nonchalantly using a cane. "Sir Francis, you'd better be more careful," Hunter cooed and reached his hand out to prop the old man up. Edward was dumbfounded after witnessing him act all respectful and humble like that. It was known for a fact that the person standing in front of him was the president of the Swinton Group, one of the 3 major groups in the city. He was even the type to laugh and joke around with someone of such high standing as Sir Hummer. So, who exactly was this old man who managed to bring out his humble side? What the hell was going on? Then again, he wasn't the only person who was surprised at this turn of events. Chris, who was still hiding in a corner, also had a bewildered look on his face. In his eyes, Hunter Anderson was an influential man whose standing was at the top of Swinton. So, who was this person able to reduce him to the demeanor of a mere servant? What was the identity of this man clad in such a dated suit in front of him? "Sir. Please help me, sir." After coming out of a daze, Edward immediately limped over to the old man in the suit and kept bowing his head to him, disregarding the fact that he had no idea who the old man was. It was obvious to him that this man was way more influential than he thought, judging by the fact that he regarded Hunter Anderson as his grandson. Heck, he might even be a government official from Stonia for all he knew. Thus, as long as this mammoth of a man was willing to lend him a hand, he'd be able to reverse his fate and even turn his life around. Hearing Edward's plea for help, the suited old man merely shot him a glance before withdrawing his gaze. He then proceeded to tidy his hair and straighten his clothes. After making sure that he looked immaculate and presentable, he started walking toward Dustin. Then, to the utmost shock and dismay of everyone at the scene, he dropped to his knees on the floor and knelt before Dustin. "My sincere greetings to you, Mr. Rhys," he proclaimed.